Hi everybody, welcome to Riverdale Public Library. I'm Ms. Helen, and today is part 2 of making a reading jar. And a couple of weeks ago, we made a superhero reading jar. And here it is. Even says reading jar on the front. And today we're going to make an animal-themed reading jar. But not just any animal-themed one. We're going to use pictures of animals that were created by the author and illustrator Eric Carle. Eric Carle was born in 1929, and he died recently. And he was one of the most famous children's illustrators ever. And if you're not sure who he is, well, you know who that is, right? The very hungry caterpillar. And we're going to make a reading jar using animal pictures from this book, Eric Carle's Book of Many Things. As you can see, they are not all animals, but since this is an animal-themed reading jar, and our summer reading program is also animals, it's called Tales and Tales, we are going to use animal pictures. And if you're registered and you have a kit, you will have some of those pictures. So, what are we using a reading jar for? Well, it looks good. Eric Carle's pictures are very colorful, and your reading jar will look very colorful, but we are actually going to use it for something. In your summer reading program, whenever you read a book, you can take a piece of paper, like I took this sticky note, and after you finished it, write the title down. So I took this book, Baby Mouse, Tales from the Locker. Okay, so here we have tales about starting middle school with Baby Mouse, who, even though she's a mouse and her friends are other animals, they're really just like real people. And so here we have, I've read Baby Mouse, Tales from the Locker. And here I have written it down on a sticky note. It doesn't have to be a sticky note. It can be just any little piece of paper. I'm going to fold it up. And I'll take my superhero reading jar. And I'm going to drop it in the jar. Okay. And after a while, halfway through the summer, hopefully we'll have a whole bunch of little pieces of paper in the reading jar. And that helps me keep track of what I'm reading. But it's also a fun way to share what you're reading and give ideas to your friends and family members on what to read. Let's say, they don't want to listen, you don't want to listen to what a grown-up suggests. You just want to listen to your friends' suggestions. Well, look at each other's reading jars, and you can draw from your friend's reading jar. You draw the title of a book, and there's your next book that you're going to read. But if you do want the advice of a librarian, you can just come right into the library, and we'll help you find something that you'd like. But anyway, it's really a kind of a fun game to do, fun activity to do around reading all summer. So you and your friends make reading jars, you write down what you read, drop it in, and just draw from each other's reading jars and get your next reading idea. So, all right, so let's start with today's animal-themed reading jar. And you can take any jar that had food in it, clean it up, take off the label, and after you've done that, before you do anything else, you want to paint it one color, okay? So I painted this white. You can see I did the superhero one in yellow, this one in white. The advantage of white is that if you're painting, if you're attaching pictures with a white background, they kind of blend in. So first thing you're going to do, take a jar, clean it up, no labels on it, and paint it one color and let it dry. Be sure to let it dry. And the second thing you're going to do is take your animal pictures. So I made color copies from Eric Carle's Book of Many Things, and I looked for a bunch of animals. Got some here, got some there, narwhal, seahorse, this is sea animals, and I cut a bunch of them out. So I have a bunch here. I've got, let's see, everybody has different animals in the kit. So I have a bear, I have a lion, I have a dragonfly, and I have a monkey. Okay, and I can cut out from this one too. So once you are, this is what I suggest, paint your jar. While it's drying, cut out the animals. And you don't have to cut out the whole thing. Again, the white background is going to blend into the jar. Okay, so I'm going to take my lion, a pair of scissors, cut him out. Like so. And my bear. Got Eric Carle's bear. And I'm going to take the hungry caterpillar. And there we have the caterpillar. And I'll pick one more animal. How about a walrus? So now I've got, let's see, let's have a look. I'm going to cut out your animals, count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that will be enough to cover a good part of the jar. So again, wait for the paint to dry. I painted this earlier, so the paint is dry. It's not a trick. And then you're going to take what is called Mod Podge. It's a kind of glue mixed with water. You can actually make your own Mod Podge. You just you mix Elmer's glue with a lot of water. But there's a way, have somebody look it up, the recipe to make Mod Podge. There is a way to do it, or you can just buy it. And the bottle, this one comes in, you can just kind of drip little bits at a time onto whatever you're gluing. And so let's start with the lion. Here's our lion. And I'm going to turn him over, put a little bit of, few drops of Mod Podge on the back. And even if you're using this kind of bottle, you're still going to need a brush to spread it. Okay. Spread it across the picture. And then decide where on the jar you would like to put your animal. And I'm going to put him right over here. Okay. But even though I've attached it with Mod Podge, it's not going to stick really well to the jar until you actually put some Mod Podge on the front as well. So you put some around the edges take your brush again and you brush outward so that the Mod Podge is both on the picture and on the jar. And this will really, really make it stick. And then you just brush it all the way across the picture, and that really, it almost makes the picture look like it's part of the jar, not just attached to it. Okay, so there, now we've attached our lion. All right. Now remember, when you're attaching on one side, if you roll it over to attach an animal on the other side and the Mod Podge is still wet, it's going to stick to the table or paper and it's going to basically ruin the picture. So you really, either you work attaching it sideways, but if you find it easier to lie it down, make sure that the side that you already did, that is now lying on the bottom, is dry, okay? What I'm gonna do is, since this is still wet, I'm gonna roll over the jar a little bit, but I'm not putting that side down because it's still wet. Okay, so now I'm gonna choose my next animal. I think it's going to be a monkey. And since the monkey looks like he is leaping from a tree, I'm going to put him high up. So, again, let's take our Mod Podge, put some around the edges, in the middle, spread it with the brush. And let's put him right over here, toward the top. And then we're going to take more Mod Podge, put drops around the edges. Use the brush to attach it. And then spread it across the whole picture. Until it's really, really lying flat and it's really stuck to that jar. There you go. Our monkey. Okay. And how about our dragonfly next? It's flying, so it's going to be close to the top also. I think I'm going to cut a little bit more background out of it. Okay, so let's make our dragonfly fly across, fly toward the monkey. Make it stick, the bottom. And take our Mod Podge, put it on the edges, on top of the picture. Okay, so here he is. And brush, brush, brush the edges. until they're really, really stuck to that jar. Okay, and now we have our dragonfly. And again, at this point, you will probably find it easier to have the jar lying on its side. But whatever you do, the side that is down, you really need to make sure it's dry. This looks almost dry, but when I put my finger to it, it still felt a little sticky. So I'm not going to lie that down yet. Okay. But I think what I will do, though, is start putting our caterpillar there. Let's see what we have room for. We have our walrus. We have room on the bottom for the walrus. We have room for the bear. Maybe put the bear in the middle. And we've got room for the caterpillar. I'll put the caterpillar up there, I think, though. Okay. Yeah, let's put him up here. Again, spreading Mod Podge on the back. Pressing it down with your finger. Then adding Mod Podge to the front of the picture. And then brushing the edges. Like that. Okay, now our caterpillar's on. All right, and I have a walrus left, which I have lots of room on the right in the between here. I'm gonna put him down on the bottom here. Rub them down with my finger, then add the Mod Podge. And there's our walrus, and I've got one little bear left. And I'm going to put him right here, or her. The whole point of the Mod Podge is that you can cover the whole picture. In fact, it actually looks better if you do. And there's our bear. So now I've used up all my animals. I could cut some more out, but I've got plenty now. And here we've got, if you look all around, there they are. And I'm going to do two more things. I have a marker with a very fine point, like this. See, it's very, very fine. And since the paint is dry on the side, I can do this, but make sure you're not rubbing it. Make sure everything's dry before you do. And I found a spot that's kind of blank on the side, and there's no Mod Podge, there's no sticky Mod Podge there. Paint is dry. And I'm going to, let's see, on the superhero jar, I put reading jar. And since we are summer reading, this is summer reading 2021, that's what I'm going to put on this jar, using that marker. It's kind of hard to do with a marker, but it's not going to look perfectly neat. But if you work slowly and neatly and you are working on a dry surface, and again, at this point, you might find it easier to have the jar lying down, but again, everything has to be dry to do that. I'm going to put summer reading. And if I want to make it special for this year, I can put 2021, or if I want to use it every year, I could just leave it at summer reading. I could put my name on it, but I'm going to put summer reading 2021. And don't forget to sign up for our summer reading program. Do not forget. You can go onto our library website and it will give you instructions on how to do it. Okay, so last thing I'm going to do is, like I said, take a slip of paper, write a title on it. Here's another book in our library. This is called She Persisted in Sports. Okay, and it's about women in real life who, even at a time or in a place where it wasn't considered the right thing for women to play sports, and there was such a time, they persisted, they kept going, they kept making the effort, and they succeeded. So the women in this book include Margaret Ives Abbott, was a golf player. Gertrude Ederle, I believe, swimmer. These are all women who participated in the Olympics. You have more recent ones. Simone Biles is in here, the gymnast. And there, Mia Hamm played soccer. So there are short pieces on a whole bunch of women who participated in the Olympics. So let's say I read that book. I know I wrote down the title, She Persisted in Sports. Maybe my friend is going to draw it from the jar. I'm going to throw it in my reading jar. And after I have a whole bunch of them, invite your friends over and say, pick one. And then they have their next reading idea. So enjoy finishing your craft. And again, make sure different parts are dry before you lie them down. Okay. And If you feel like there's too much white space, you can even draw leaves on there, trees, add other animals, and pretty much do whatever you want with it. So anyway, enjoy finishing it, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.